Hello, Mind Bloomers. This is Mind Bloom, the safe space at the intersection of mental health advocacy and breast cancer awareness. Mind Bloom is your podcast. Subscribe to hear more on female entrepreneurship and the juggling of family life, career goals, and romantic relationships. Not an easy task, especially if your physical and mental health need a big hug right now. Hello, Mind Bloomers. This is Marina Gee, your host, and welcome to Mind Bloom, the podcast for all things mental health and breast cancer awareness. Before we dive into this week's episode, let me just say that Mind Bloom, the podcast, and the content at Mind Bloom U across all platforms is not intended to be a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. You should always contact your providers for medical counsel. Never disregard any medical treatment or delay seeking professional help because of any content authored or distributed by Mind Bloom. Hello guys, welcome to episode 25 of Mind Bloom. Today is November 3rd, 2020, and if you live in the United States, or if you are American and you live elsewhere, or if you are American and you live in the United States, you know what this means. It's election day, and I do not know a single soul that is not on their toes right now, skipping a beat every time they hear the words Trump or Biden, and just on edge. The anxiety is palpable and is nationwide, if not worldwide. People are taking on more baking, more meditating, more banding up with others, or more isolating and deep thinking. People are gardening more, people are cleaning up more. That's not me. Walking their dogs more, maybe even walking their cats just because you cannot stand still. I'm sitting here talking with you and my feet are twitching and my hands are fidgety and I feel like I need to do something. Journaling, I'm definitely going to be baking later. I think I'm going to do my laundry. I have to do something as I wait for 9 p.m. today. And even then, it's not guaranteed we'll have any results. Next week, next time you tune in on Mind Bloom, I'm sure there will be more advancements, more knowledge as to who is the elect president and what course is this country going to be taking for the next 4 years in terms of healthcare for all, in terms of immigration, in terms of social justice and racial equality, and even in terms of foreign policy, trade, and international relationships with China, with Russia, Europe, and of course, in terms of coronavirus and dealing with the pandemic. So obviously there is so much at stake. It's only natural and expected that the entire nation is, in good mental health terms, having a generalized panic attack right now. Speaking of panic attacks, don't you just love this segue? I went yesterday into Manhattan to have my 6 months follow-up medical exams, breast exams. I don't know why, every 6 months I think, this is going to be okay. It's just going to go in and out. It's going to be easy peasy. And I'll control my anxiety. This is nothing to worry about. It's just a precaution. But I've come to the conclusion that this is just probably my brain working in my favor, which I thank you, brain. This is good that I forget every time how grueling it is going to be. So just to give you an idea, I spent over 2 hours in the imaging clinic or facility, I don't know what that is, yesterday. We started with the bilateral mammogram, and with my diagnosis of LCIS in December, I am now supposed to have diagnostic imaging versus regular routine follow-up imaging. So what that entails is a thorough, minute, comprehensive, whatever you want to call it, scrutiny of the breast tissue. So I think all in all, I had 6 images taken of each breast, and then they dismissed me and asked me to sit in the waiting room as I wait for the ultrasound. And the worst thing that can happen in these circumstances is it's almost like everyone's worst nightmare is they call me back to do more mammogram imaging because it wasn't enough and they just couldn't really see what they were looking for. The question is, what are they looking for? Cancer, right? So off I went for more imaging on both breasts again. So a lot more squishing and pressing and hurting than I was expecting when I woke up that morning. Also this vague sense of why the hell do they need more images? What are they looking for? What is going on? Here we go again. And this is even before getting the ultrasound. So then they finally call me to do the diagnostic ultrasound again. It's diagnostic. So they're trying to diagnose something, which really just makes your day, right? So I spent, and the poor technician as well, we spent 1 hour in that ultrasound room, just measuring and beeping and circling and little dots and specks of things, calcifications, micro calcifications, cysts, you name it. They go all the way up to the axilla, which is just basically the armpit, because they're looking for changes in your lymph nodes, changes in size, changes in behavior. I was able at that moment to take a peek at the monitor, and I saw that the woman was circling a few of the lymph nodes. So again, this feeling of dread just sunk in. Although now I have more tools to work with and I don't go into this dark place of panic and of extreme anxiety. I kept telling myself, just breathe, relax. We'll know when we know, and whatever it is, we'll deal with it. Being in the United States, I'm privileged that I have health insurance. I am privileged that I'm being seen by the head of the breast surgery department of Mount Sinai. I am privileged that I can have regular and frequent follow-ups that are actually so thorough and comprehensive, even if very painful and literally a pain in the butt. So that was my day yesterday, Monday. Then I came home and I had to immediately take a nap. Taking a nap is my safe place. It's where I need to go to reboot and reset my energies, not just the physical energies, because the exams did take a toll on my body, but also emotional energies. So I took a quick nap with my dog next to me. She was curling up next to me in bed, and that is just, it makes it all okay again. And then I got up and I decided that I wasn't going to finish this episode after all. I was just going to take the rest of the day. It was kind of a mixture of procrastination. Yes, it's true. It was a bit of an excuse to not do the work. But it was, again, like I was saying, a mix of procrastination, a little bit of laziness, but definitely what people are calling self-care. Around 5 p.m., I just realized, it was dark already. It was almost time to have dinner since I had had a very light lunch. So I wasn't going to push and force myself to go into a place of, responsibility and work and diligence and huge attention to detail, because editing is just that. Immense scrutiny and immense attention. And to be honest, I just wanted to turn on CNN, take a look at the news, what they were saying. I keep imagining they're going to give us the results, 24 hours before the actual polls close. But that didn't happen. So later on in the evening, I decided to make the batter for buttermilk pancakes for this morning. So basically I made the batter last night. I let it sit overnight in the fridge, and today it was nice and fluffy, the batter. And I had, buttermilk pancakes for breakfast with an amazing all natural, all organic maple syrup. And here I am speaking with you, telling you about my day yesterday and my expectations for today, later today. And I feel much better, both physically and mentally, and stronger, and actually proud that I took the time to just be quiet yesterday. It's the perks of not having a real job, right? I mean, Mindbloom is my work, but it does not pay the bills yet. And it does not have a boss other than me, myself. Therefore, I have the luxury to slack anytime I want. And I hardly ever do. So I felt I could slack on a day I had my medical exams. What's surprising is the amount of love and engagement I got on Instagram from my breasties friends. I posted that I had gone for my exams, and I was candid, as I always try to be, about the anxiety around it and the nervousness in respect to the outcome of the exams. And immediately, and this was 8 p.m., I think, in New York City. So it was very, very late when I posted yesterday. But regardless, I was showered with messages of good energy, good vibes. People were sending love my way and wishing and praying that it would all be all right. And wow, I am always surprised at how this happens, how people actually take the time to read what I write and to comment and wish me well, if that is the case. A friend of mine, Amy, uses the expression Cancer warrior as a play of words with Cancer warrior. And that's eventually what we all are at some point or other. We all worry, and we would be lying if we said we don't. And when that possibility is so present in your life, the days of worrying are abundant. I feel like a warrior most of the time. But the days of worrying also exist. And when they come, and when they present themselves to you, it's the worst. But then you remember you're also a mental health warrior. And it's at that point that you use the tools that you have in your toolbox kit. And you stay clear as much as possible from negative thinking and invasive thoughts and triggers for panic and this general sense of looming doom, which used to be my everyday life. And now that I take better care of myself, and have established better boundaries with others and with my own negative thoughts, I feel that these worrying days are fewer, less extreme, less intense, and I can brush off more easily. Not 100%, but more easily, let's say maybe 80%, the feeling of dread and uncertainty and the fear in general for the unknown, the results of the exams in this case. How do you deal with all this? How do you cope with your medical exams, your scanxiety? If you have to do medical exams, I mean, we all should, right? At least once a year. And how do you deal? How have you been coping with election day anxiety? Tell me. Share your thoughts, your suggestions, your opinion with me. You know you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Pinterest at mindbloomu. You can write me an email to info@mindbloomu.com. You can visit my website, mindbloomu.com. You can check out the YouTube channel where I post the audio episodes of every week, as well as the video of the interviews with my guests. If the outcome of the election is very positive and you're feeling very uplifted and generous, you can also go on buymeacoffee.com/mindbloomu and buy me a coffee. It's $3 a pop, and that would help this starving artist. No, this kind of broke podcaster living on the wire of immigration and breast cancer to buy herself a coffee to go with her buttermilk pancakes in the morning. In any case, stick around. Send me a comment, a like, a follow on the social media outlets I just mentioned. I'm very, very active, especially on Instagram and Twitter, my very favorites. And I would love to hear from you and know who you are. Maybe interview you if you have an awesome story of either mental health or breast cancer in your own body or in your family. Don't forget to subscribe to Mind Bloom. Don't forget to leave a review for Mind Bloom on the Apple Podcasts app. And as you do that, don't forget to go vote if you haven't yet. The lines are probably not as long today, so go vote. Download an episode of Mind Bloom, listen to it as you wait in line, and stay strong tonight as we find out or not the results of the 2020 presidential election. Guys, if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Turns out it's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. It will also distribute your podcast for you so that everyone can listen to it on Spotify and Apple Podcast and many, many more. And guess what? You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So go download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started. This week, I do not have a guest for you. You're stuck with me all the way through. You know, I thought as we are reaching 25 episodes of Mind Bloom, and with so much going on, not only in my personal life, but in the country, with the election happening today, I thought I would, instead of airing an interview, I thought I'd rather take stock and to use a constitutional term, to do some checks and balances of this little republic of mine that is my podcast, Mind Bloom. So we're in November, month 8, at least in Western countries, month 8 of the pandemic. And if we look back, and I speak for New York at this moment, but if we look back, we've lived this year through a shelter in place, through a lockdown, possibly more than one lockdown, through curfew orders, and that alone is a lot, is tremendous. If we add to it job loss, such as I have experienced, I was furloughed in April and terminated in May, and with my job termination came the loss of my ability to work in this country until at least my immigration status becomes more concrete and formalized, I guess, sometime in the near future when I receive, hopefully, my permanent residency, the green card. And then we can also add to the mix the fright of breast cancer, because why not? But all in all, and as I look back, I could have curled up in a ball and done nothing about it. I could have fallen into the dark place of depression, because I have in the past, and I know how luring it can be, and stay in bed all day and watch TV to numb myself all day, or eat sweets and sugar to again numb myself a little bit more. But instead, I picked up the pieces and I carved for myself this unique space that is Mind Bloom. And I invited others to join in. After October, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and 2 episodes a week, I think it's probably not a bad idea to pause and assess. And also, why not look back with nostalgia and pride at those earlier episodes. This month of November, I want to introduce a new topic. It'll be male mental health. In other words, mental health and mental illness from the perspective of guys. This idea came to be when I started being approached on Twitter, mainly by guys, by men, who showed availability to talk about their struggle with mental health issues. And this struck a chord in me when I started realizing that it's not only women, and at some point even on mental health, it became strongly the male audience that started approaching me. So, although not today, the next couple of episodes will feature male guest speakers who thought it would be a good idea to share their experience with the Mind Bloom listeners. So we'll be hearing about clinical depression and suicide ideation, as well as bulimia and eating disorders in general, and body dysmorphia. And if you think about it, look at the immense courage of these men who decided to openly talk about these issues, and not in anonymity at all, while at the same time acknowledging that mental health is an important, if not fundamental, vital part of their stories, of their lives, and keeping their mental health strong and healthy, I guess, is essential for their well-being, as it is the sharing and the opening of their doors and their inboxes for others who are just now coming to the realization that they are also struggling. So these guys I'm interviewing in November are not only extremely brave individuals, but they're also advocates, activists in their own way, and champions of openly dismissing any taboos and breaking the stigma around mental illness that is so much more pervasive in the male demographic, because boys don't cry, right? You'll hear new terms like the man box. You'll find out that purging, in the case of bulimia, can take many forms, not just the more obvious one. And you'll realize that a lot of the men you interact with in your life are probably crumbling inside, are probably hardly holding it together, even though they show up this front and this facade of strength and security because they're expected to by their peers, by their fathers, their mothers even, by society in general. So in a sense, I almost find it relieving that as a woman, I am, inverted comma, allowed to cry, allowed to show my feelings, allowed and expected. It is a bit ridiculous, but to be hysterical, let's say, because men, not a chance, not in a million years. And how terrible must that feel if we forget just for a little second our feminist ideals? How dreadful must it be to be taught as you grow up that you don't show your emotions. In fact, you don't have any, and you will be perceived as weak if you do otherwise. So stick around with Mind Bloom in the month of November and forever, really, because I am sure you're going to take away so much. And take note, the same way breast cancer can happen to men too, mental health issues are a reality as well. So take a closer look at your brothers, your husbands, your colleagues in school or at work. Maybe they're crying for help and they just don't know how to do it, or they don't even know they can do it. Allow your inboxes and your hearts to be open to these people because they may be suffering, even though they display a facade of strength. In one word, I guess, as I wrap up, empathy. Put yourself in other people's shoes. Listen to what they're really telling you. Maybe not with their words, but with their eyes and with their hands and with their body posture. Is your son drinking too much for your taste? Is your cousin spending days in bed? Well, tap into it. Maybe there's more to it than you think. Maybe it's not laziness after all. Maybe that compulsion to drink has to do with something else. So let's all practice more empathy. Let's all show more compassion for ourselves, of course, but for others as well. And on Mind Bloom in the month of November for our men, our guys, the guys that make up our lives and give us so much joy and wreck up our nerves so much and so often as well. My big love to you, my big, big kisses and hugs to my male fellow podcasters and the men in my life. And that was our episode for this week. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you were able to take away some useful tips and tools to use in your own life. Don't forget to subscribe to Mind Bloom the podcast anywhere you stream your podcasts, and please leave a message on the Anchor FM voicemail if you have any questions or comments for me. Also, please leave a review on the Apple Podcasts app. That would help the podcast reach more people. That would be great. Follow Mind Bloom on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at MindBloomU, and check out my website, mindbloomu.com. Don't forget, a new episode every Tuesday. I look forward to spending time with you again next week. Be well and stay blessed. Bye-bye.